No. Not end screen. Not yet. Play. All right. Good evening and welcome to the 14th season and 578th episode of Travel Witch Radio. I am Dan Schlossberg along with my friend and producer Roger Noriega, and we are in the 14th season of Travel Witch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair.
Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, even those that take care of animals as well. From authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Witch Radio.
Roger, I didn't know that your cat could bark.
Let me tell you, there are animals that make a lot of noise, and boy, is our guest super red right now.
And our guest today is Laura McMurchie, Vice President of Experience Scottsdale. Welcome, Laura, to Travel Witch Radio.
We're here to talk about pet-friendly Scottsdale, right?
Yes.
Hello again, Laura, and welcome back to the show, Travel Witch Radio. Since this is mid-January, we're only about a month away from baseball spring training, my favorite time of the year, as you know. Please tell our viewers, Laura, what is going on with Scottsdale baseball?
Well, believe it or not, there is more than spring training in Scottsdale. And we have just kind of kicked off our event season. So the weather is beautiful. It's 72 degrees out. And yeah, things have revved up. Scottsdale Western Week, Celebration of Fine Art. We've got the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which is the most largely attended, most highly watched PGA tournament played right here in Scottsdale. Scottsdale Arabian Horse Show, Ferrari Art Week, and then, of course, heading into March, Major League Baseball spring training.
I know there are 15 teams in the Cactus League, including the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Aren't they located in proximity to each other?
Yeah, that's the really great thing about Cactus League. There's the 15 teams, like you mentioned. They play more than 200 games, and the ballparks are no more than 45 minutes away from each other.
What is your favorite spring training ballpark and why?
Well, I'm biased, but I love Scottsdale Stadium, home of the San Francisco Giants. And really that's because of the location. So it's right in the heart of Old Town Scottsdale. So it allows fans to be able to walk to great restaurants, shops, before or after the ballpark or after the ball game. But also Salt River Fields is Talking Stick is where Arizona Diamondbacks, Colorado Rockies play. And that has more of a glitzy Major League Baseball stadium feel. And we're only 15 minutes away from the Chicago Cubs Stadium, Sloan Park. So even though it's in Mesa, you can base yourself in Scottsdale and head there.
Okay, I know we could fill up a whole show with baseball talk, but we really want to let our viewers know what's new in Scottsdale. If you were sitting next to a stranger on a plane and he asked, what would you tell him?
So this one is really hard. I would try and figure out, first of all, what motivates that particular traveler, because some people want to sit by the pool and go to the spa, and we have that. But for some people, rest and relaxation is really being able to, get out of their everyday environment. So maybe going out hiking or horseback riding, whether it's hitting the golf course or the art galleries, or really just leaning into all the great restaurants in Scottsdale. So I'd really kind of tailor my answer to what makes that person's, travel, heart tick.
Is spring break a big deal in Arizona, or is that strictly a Florida phenomenon?
When the kids are on break, it is a big deal everywhere. So it is big for us. It is a very, peak season. So that equals higher rates and perfect weather. So it's definitely a busy time of year.
And speaking of spring break, I understand college kids are not the only ones playing pickleball these days. In fact, Doesn't the Boulders Resort and Spa have a full-time pickleball instructor and a pickleball stay and play package for guests?
They do, and I think you hit on a big trend here. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States. So the Boulders, Four Seasons, Fairmont, a number of the other resorts have really picked up on that and have programs for their guests. And it's really popular just overall in Scottsdale. So you can find different city courts where you can, just join a pickup match of pickleball. We've got Pure Pickleball and Paddle coming in 2026, and that'll be the world's largest indoor pickleball facility, and that will have more than 50 courts.
There's a beekeeping program at the Andes Scottsdale Resort and Bungalows, a luxury oasis of beehives on the property. What's that all about?
So they installed beehives throughout the property to pollinate the surrounding flora during the summer. And the end of the season, they harvest the honey. They'll incorporate that into different programming at the resort and share it with the community.
We're talking with Laura McMurchie of Experience Scottsdale.
In keeping with the healing power of nature, Castle Hot Springs has a wellness through water package that promotes what it calls mindful soaking, something my achy knees would love. They're a member of Historic Hotels of America and established a reputation as Arizona's first wellness resort in the 19th century. Could you tell us more? My achy knees are listening.
This is a really special property. So they're located outside of Scottsdale. That's actually the Phoenician that we're looking at there. But Castle Hot Springs is located about 60 miles or 90 minutes from Scottsdale, and they opened in 1896. And they were frequented by the likes of the Roosevelts, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts. So all of the who's who during that time frame. Many U.S. presidents throughout the early 20th century stayed there. John F. Kennedy recuperated at Castle Hot Springs after World War II. He came there for the healing waters. They experienced a fire in 1946, so kind of, went out of commission. And then they've reopened with 3 natural rock grottos, 200,000 gallons of 120-degree mineral water. They brew their own beer from their water on site. They've got an organic farm, and they're adults only. So it really is a one-stop shop and a really special gem, kind of located a little bit in the middle of nowhere, 90 minutes from, downtown Scottsdale.
Wow, that's cool. There's a lot there. On Travel H Radio, as you know, we love to talk history. We know Old Scottsdale is the big deal. Is a big deal, but doesn't Scottsdale itself consider itself a Western town as well as a Tony resort community?
Yeah, so we are known as the Westmost Western town, and we really hold into that Western history. We think it's one of the things that really differentiates us from other resort communities. But we're also a thriving cosmopolitan resort community, as you mentioned. We're really lucky to have properties that range the gamut from boutique properties like the Hermosa Inn, which is a really quintessential Western property, Hotel Valley Ho, which is an iconic mid-century modern property. And then, of course, we have the luxury gems like the Four Seasons and the Phoenician, just to name a few.
I believe I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Tales in West, winter home of the late, I should know this, winter home of the late Frank Lloyd Wright. I definitely should know this, has a wide variety of public events and interactive programs relating to the famed architect's legacy. Would you please care to share? And feel free to correct any mispronunciation.
There's going to be a test at the end. It is Taliesin West. So basically, just pronounce all those letters. Yeah, so Taliesin West has a self-guided tour, so you can download the tour on your phone and walk through the facility on your own, which was really kind of a great addition that came out of that COVID era. Before that, you always had to take a guided tour. You do have to still book a time for these tours, but you can go as fast or as slow as you'd like through the property. They have a number of other tours. They have a shelter tour, which is 90 minutes. That one's guided, and it takes you to the apprentice shelter. So these are the shelters that the students had to actually build in the desert. They have a behind the scenes tour, family tours. They have a great happy hour, sunset and sips tour. And that's just a few of their myriad tours.
There's always something interesting going on at the Museum of Musical Instrument, which I would rate as a must-see, as well as the Taliesin West. It had a recent Stradivarius exhibit featuring 70 different string instruments and bows. What else is new at the MIM, Laura? And if I may add to that, what was the security like for all the Stradivarius violins there?
Well, your listeners are very lucky because that is still going on. It's going on through April 30th. So it is a magnificent exhibit that more than 70 sought after string instruments from iconic European makers of the 16th to the 19th century, violins, guitars, lutes. I was a former viola player, so it's one of my favorites. But they have a great concert facility as well. So if you can catch a live show there, I definitely recommend it.
Thank you. Visitors who want to be pampered should consider the rebranding of Hyatt Regency Scottsdale Resort and Spa at Gainey Ranch to the first Grand Hyatt Hotel in Arizona. This is a $115 million property, wide renovation for the 496-room luxury property, which has 6 distinct elevated dining concepts supervised by celebrity chef Richard Blaze. I love the 10-acre pool complex tool. Would you tell us more?
Yeah, it's a fantastic property and really kind of a Scottsdale gem. Dates back to 1986. One of our first full-service resort properties. It sits on 27 acres, so it is quite a massive footprint. Very family-friendly. Live music, fantastic spa that was designed by a student of Frank Lloyd Wright up at Taliesin West. And my little insider tip from that property is to take the free bike. So they have a free bike rental program, so you can ride those into Old Town Scottsdale or along the Greenbelt. It's a really great way to see Scottsdale.
That's good to know, especially about the bikes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with Laura McMurchie of Explore Scottsdale.
Well, a few people realize Scottsdale has a big and beautiful waterfront, but it does. Plus a Scottsdale Arts Canal Convergence that features art, performances, and programming, food trucks, a beer and wine garden, and more. Sounds terrific. Mm-hmm. Tell us.
Yeah, Canal Convergence has become a favorite for everyone in town, but it brings people from out of town as well. As you said, there is a canal system that cuts through Old Town Scottsdale. And it's, dates back to the Hohokam people. But in probably about the past 20 years, the city has really kind of made it a focal point of the Old Town Scottsdale area. And Canal Convergence is an annual celebration of art and water and light, and brings in large format light installations all along that waterfront. It's free. So like I said, it brings locals and it's really a fantastic event.
How did Scottsdale mark Native American Heritage Month last November?
Yeah, so really the big signature event was the Arizona Indigenous Food and Culinary Experience at the Scottsdale Museum of the West. So that was a fantastic 2-day event, dovetailing on that. Recently, Scottsdale welcomed our first Native American owned and operated restaurant in Old Town Scottsdale called the Fry Bread Lounge, which is right next door to Native Art Market. So there are a lot of good ways to kind of explore Scottsdale's Indigenous roots.
This is Travel Witch Radio with Dan Schlossberg and Roger Noriega. We're in our 14th season, approaching our 600th episode. We're live at 5 New York time every Thursday on LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, Twitter, and Facebook, among others. What's on tap, Laura, at the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts? We hear some of the upcoming programs feature the Commodores, Branford Marsalis, and the Martha Graham Dance Company.
Yeah, they have so much going on, and I was just looking at their upcoming programming, and it's such an eclectic spring lineup. And I mean, there really is something for everyone, like ranging from the Robert Cray Band to Hiromi's Sonic Wonder. I'm not even sure what that is, but I'm pretty sure it's not my age demographic. But the Americana, jazz, classical, Broadway, and again, it's just a really spectacular venue for seeing these concerts.
We're talking with Laura McMurchie of Experience Scottsdale. Roger, no audio.
I'm so sorry. I was so caught in the emotion. At Travelage Radio, we love trains. So we have to ask about the McCormick Stillman Railroad Park. Is it for kids, adults, or both?
Absolutely both.
Good.
There's everything. Again, I feel like we keep coming back to, great live music and concerts, but there's concerts in the park. And so adults will come, bring a blanket, let the kids run around. They have, vintage carousel, train rides, seasonal activities, and it sits on 30 acres. So lots of great space for the kids.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a bit. For out-of-towners who've never been to Scottsdale, is there a narrated local highlights tour that you would recommend?
So there are a few options. One of my favorites is the culinary walking tours in Old Town Scottsdale, because I feel like you really get the lay of the land, plus you get to sample bites from 6 or so different restaurants. There are Segway tours through Old Town Scottsdale, or you can take an eclectic golf cart tour, there's a company called Joyrides Arizona, and they offer myriad different opportunities. So you can do your Old Town overview, you can do a gelato and ice cream tour, you could do a True West immersion tour, or there's a private tour guide called Ace Bailey, and her company is Ultimate Art and Cultural Tours. So if you really want to dig into Scottsdale's arts, history, architecture, she's your gal.
There must be a myriad of major museums in Scottsdale. Would you care to share?
I feel like we've touched on a few of them. So we talked about the Musical Instrument Museum. I mentioned Scottsdale Museum of the West. We talked about Scottsdale's Performing Arts, but there's also Scottsdale's Museum of Contemporary Arts, which is not one of the biggest contemporary art museums, but it's so incredibly well curated. I highly recommend that one. We have a few places that are sort of museum-esque, like Desert Botanical Garden, which will really give you a look into the plants of the Sonoran Desert. Wonder Spaces, which is more of an interactive, fun, light and modern art exhibit space. And then Cosanti, which was Paolo Soleri's Bell Studio. And Paolo Soleri was a student of Frank Lloyd Wright as well.
Our favorite Scottsdale restaurant of years past, Don and Charlie's, is no longer there, but there are still plenty of places to please the palate. What are some of the best, and what local delicacies should visitors try?
Well, first of all, we all miss Don and Charlie's. Nothing has really filled that void, but there are myriad other places that you can try. So the Mission is fantastic for modern Latin food. Again, this is right in Old Town Scottsdale, so an easy walk to Scottsdale Stadium. Some of the others in Old Town Scottsdale, F&B. F&B is helmed by a James Beard award-winning chef, Charlene Badman. Beginner's Luck, I mentioned Fry Bread Lounge. Craft 64 if you want some wood-fired pizzas and locally crafted brews. Virtue Honest Craft, Citizen Public House, and I could take the rest of the show talking about our great dining scene.
I don't think we've asked you about the Scottsdale nightlife. Would you give us your take on that, knowing that we're out in the desert in Scottsdale?
Well, yeah, I guess there's two ways to kind of look at that nightlife. First of all, there's the Velvet Rope nightclub scene, if that's what you're looking for. We're featuring DJs who are coming in from all around the country, or there's small historic saloons like the Rusty Spur with the swinging wooden doors. There's Arizona wine tasting rooms. We're up to 7 now. Speakeasies and cocktail lounges, local breweries. But then, sort of the other nightlife is how, the desert does come to life at night. So a lot of our resorts have programs where you can go out to the desert in the evening with and do some nighttime sky viewing, stargazing, or you can take a Hummer tour in the desert with an astronomer. Up at the boulders, you can rent bikes and do a moonlit bike ride. So lots of different ways, which, especially we like to lean into those things in the summertime when, the sun goes down and things cool off a little bit. It's a great way to see the desert.
That is so cool, knowing that you can take those night tours, and I can only imagine what the sky looks like out there. And let me ask about places to stay, old and new. Does Scottsdale have something to suit every budget?
You bet. I mean, I kind of mentioned we're just really lucky that we have such diverse properties. So there really is something for every price point. And, I think the beauty of it is even if you're staying at one of the limited service properties, you have all of these great amenities at your doorstep.
We are having a conversation with Laura McMurchie of Explore Scottsdale.
How close, Laura, is Scottsdale to Sky Harbor Airport, and do visitors need to rent cars?
So this one is really kind of subjective if you need to rent a car. I would say if you're staying in Old Town Scottsdale, you don't necessarily need one. You're only 15 minutes from Sky Harbor Airport. Very easy, Lyft and Uber service. We also have Waymos, the autonomous driverless cars that you can catch from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. And if you're staying at a property up in North Scottsdale, like the Four Seasons, that's going to be about 45 minutes away. If you want to get out and explore a little bit when you're at the Four Seasons or one of those North Scottsdale properties, I would say that having a car would be handy.
And what is the best time of the year to visit? How about your peak and bargain seasons?
Yeah, well, it depends on your budget, I guess, what special events you're interested in. Dan, you like to come during our busiest month of the year, which is spring training, as do many other people. And, what that means is with that perfect weather and with, that buzz around spring training, the rooms are, running high or filled, and so our hotels are running high occupancy. So that is our actual busiest and usually most expensive month of the year. But there's, great shoulder seasons. So looking at the fall is fantastic. Summer, everything's about 60% off during the summertime. You can just gotta, change your schedule around a little bit. I always say nobody does summer as well as we do. It's hot. There's no getting around that, but it's definitely doable. So there really is something for, whoever wants to come and whatever your budget is.
And how do Travel Itch Radio listeners learn more about Scottsdale, or is there a website they can go to?
Yeah, you can go to experiencescottsdale.com and learn tons more.
Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like to add? I'm sure there's a lot.
There is a lot. I mean, I will say my passion really is our access to outdoor adventure. So the fact that I can be in Old Town Scottsdale, a James Beard winning restaurant, and then, within 15 minutes, I can drive to McDowell Sonoran Preserve and, explore more than 200 miles of trails, great architecture, culinary scene, golf. So there really is so much to offer.
Our guest today on Travel Itch Radio has been Laura McMurchie, Vice President of Experience Scottsdale. Thank you for being our guest on Travel Itch Radio.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, and before we go, I want to remind our viewers that 2024 was the 50th anniversary of the home run that broke Babe Ruth's record for Hank Aaron. And Roger's holding up the book. This is also your chance to share the excitement with my new biography, Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron, featuring a foreword by Dusty Baker. This 265-page hardcover explores Aaron's contributions as a home run hitter on and off the field, as an athlete and as an advocate for civil rights. And there I am with Dusty Baker. That's Home Run King, The Remarkable Record of Hank Aaron. Get it today on Amazon.com. And by the way, since we're talking Hank Aaron, he was very close friends with the late Jimmy Carter, and the Carters and the Aarons actually went on a European ski vacation together. Kind of something to read about in the book. And that's it for this edition of Travel Itch Radio. Now, this is Dan Schlossberg, along with my friend and producer, Roger Noriega, saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, our guest next week, when Roger will be the solo host, actually, will be James Appleton, author of The Adirondack 46 and 18 Hikes, the complete guide to hiking the high peaks. Thanks for watching Travel Itch Radio. Good evening and stay safe. And I'm looking for it and still looking for it. And there it is.